My parents handed the family business to my brother and acted like I didn't exist until he ran everything into the ground. After years of rebuilding the company, they kicked me out the moment he returned. Hey Reddit, I'm kind of in a rough spot right now and could seriously use a pick-me-up and some solid advice to dust myself off and get back in the game. Let me lay it all out for you. For the past 29 years of my life, yeah, that's as long as I can remember, it's been crystal clear that my older brother Zane, who's just a year older than me at 29, has always been the star of the show in our family. It's like everything was always in his favor no matter what. Zane totally knew he was the favorite kid, and it kind of went to his head, making him think he was above everyone else, especially me. He had this attitude like no matter what he did to me, my parents would just look the other way, and I'd be the one getting in trouble. It was super obvious that my parents had a soft spot for him because he pretty much got the best of everything every single time. The only moment someone would actually point out this unfairness was when our grandparents or some other relatives would notice and say something about it. So what did my parents do? Instead of fixing the issue, they decided to pack us up and move us 150 miles away from our relatives. Their plan was pretty simple. If we were only seeing these relatives on holidays, they wouldn't have to deal with the criticism. Meanwhile, back at home, Zane was being a real pain to me. We're talking about him being physically mean, and our parents did zilch to stop it. My dad would brush it off saying stuff like, boys will be boys, and that I needed to man up. But it didn't stop there. When I finally got a girlfriend, Zane turned on his charm and wouldn't stop flirting with her. He made her so uncomfortable that she decided to call it quits with me. I was livid, confronted Zane, and even went to my parents for help, but all they did was laugh it off and tell me I was acting childish. Talk about feeling unsupported. To add insult to injury whenever there were family vacations, guess who got left behind? Yep, me. My parents would take Zane and tell me they couldn't afford another ticket or that they'd take me some other time, but that next time seemed like it never came. So hanging out with my grandparents was actually pretty cool for me. I mean, I really love them, and then there's my brother Zane. Somehow he always got whatever he wanted, no matter how much it cost. It was like magic or something. Fast forward to when I turned 16, and boom, I got my driver's license. It was a big deal because my brother, who's a year older than me, just couldn't pass his driving tests. It was like he was cursed or something. Meanwhile, I was flipping burgers at McDonald's, saving up bits of my paycheck here and there. I thought it would be a good idea to ask my folks if they could help me get a used car. I was totally planning to pay them back over time like a mini loan, but guess what? They said no. I was bummed out. Then out of nowhere, when my brother finally passed his driving test after who knows how many tries, my parents didn't even blink before they got him a car. I was like, what just happened? I tried to talk to them about it, thinking maybe they'd see how unfair it was, but all I got was, your brother needs it more than you do. Huh? When my 18th birthday rolled around after a lot of begging and pleading, they finally agreed to get me a car, but then Zane had to step in. He suddenly decided that his car, which was perfectly fine, was too old for him. So what did my parents do? They gave me Zane's old car and went out to buy him a brand new one. I won't lie, it hurt, but at the same time, I was like, at least I have a car now, even though it felt like I was always second best. The only time I ever felt like my parents treated me the same as Zane was when other family members were around. Birthdays, Christmas, you name it. It was as if they were putting on a show, making sure everyone thought we were treated equally. It was kind of funny in a weird way seeing them try so hard not to show any favoritism when the relatives were watching. I've got these family members, right? They're the type who can't resist a juicy piece of gossip or poking their noses into everyone else's business. It's like their favorite hobby. Now my parents, they've got their favorites among us kids, but they try super hard to keep it on the down low. They always warned me pretty sternly to zip my lips about family stuff whenever we had people over. They even went as far as saying they'd take away all my gadgets and stuff if I let anything slip. Talk about pressure right now. When my older brother finished high school, it was as if he'd won an Olympic gold or something. My parents were over the moon. They kept going on and on about how proud they were of him, his grades, his future, you name it. They even threw this big bash to celebrate, inviting loads of people to show off his success. But let's flip the script to when it was my turn to graduate. My mom couldn't be bothered to show up on time despite just chilling at home, and my dad, well, he didn't bother showing up at all. That evening, I was sitting there at dinner feeling all sorts of down because it was like they couldn't care less about my big day. And when I brought it up, all they had to say was that graduating high school wasn't a big deal and that I should just move on. Ouch, right? To add insult to injury, my brother Zane, who was off at university doing his thing, decided to kick me while I was down. He sent this message basically saying I could never stack up to him and that it should be crystal clear by now that our parents didn't really love me. That night, I just broke down and cried myself to sleep. It was this moment of harsh truth where I realized that no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't make my parents see me the way I hoped they would, and that's when I decided enough was enough. It was time to pack up and move out. You'd think they'd be a bit upset or something, right? But nope. It seemed like my moving out was another reason for them to celebrate. It was as if they were relieved they didn't have to spend on me anymore. From then on, I was just another relative, someone they'd see on the holidays, nothing more. Meanwhile, I was out there hustling hard. I worked a full-time job and managed to get myself into college relying on scholarships to get by. And guess what? Not a dime came from my parents. It was tough, but it taught me a lot about standing on my own 2 feet and not waiting around for anyone's approval or support. So imagine this, it's a big day because I just finished college, but guess what? My family didn't come to see me graduate. They said it was too far to drive and would take forever to get to my college. Honestly, I wasn't too bothered by it. After college, I got super lucky and found an awesome job right back where I grew up. The job was great and paid me a lot of money, which was pretty cool. Now let's talk about Zane. Zane is a bit of a different story. He was in university too, but he couldn't finish because he had some problems with drinking too much. Instead of school, Zane got into this thing called day trading. It's like buying and selling stuff on the computer to try and make money. He was using money our parents gave him every month to do this. At first, he was doing okay and making some money, and he wouldn't stop talking about how great he was doing, but then something bad happened. Zane lost all his money in one big bad trade. You'd think our parents would be really mad, right? But no. They just told him it was a lesson to learn and encouraged him to get a regular job, something more stable. Zane tried a bunch of different jobs, hopping from one to another until he finally got a job that paid him, but not nearly as much as mine. We don't talk much, Zane and I, but whenever we see each other, like at Christmas, he always tries to act like he's doing better than me. He tries to make it seem like his choices were the best, even though it's pretty clear they weren't. His job doesn't pay much and he's had a lot of ups and downs in his life, but he still acts like everything's perfect when he talks to other people. I don't really let it bother me, though. I know I'm doing well and my paycheck proves it. Now let's add another part of the story. My dad has this small business, a manufacturing firm he built from scratch about 5 years ago. A big change happened. His manager, who was really important to the business, suddenly left because they got a better offer from another company. My parents were going through a rough patch because my dad was not as young as he used to be, and running the family business was becoming a real challenge for him. He was at a point where doing everything by himself just wasn't feasible anymore, but here's the kicker. He was really hesitant to bring someone new into the mix. He didn't want to spend a bunch of time training a newcomer, getting them up to speed, only to have them leave after a couple of years, putting us back at square one. So in a move that was out of the ordinary for us, my dad decided to gather me and my brother for a lunch meeting. It was pretty unusual because it's not often that just the 3 of us would sit down together like this. I remember feeling quite surprised and curious when my dad specifically asked for me to be there. As we gathered around the table, it was clear that my dad wasn't interested in small talk. He went straight to the heart of the matter. He laid it all out, telling us that our family business was in a really tough spot. The longtime manager had decided to leave, and my dad was struggling to find a suitable replacement. With the business not doing well and the threat of bankruptcy becoming more real by the day, the situation was dire. It was obvious my dad was in a tight spot and desperately needed our help. The way he looked at us, it was like he was silently begging. I kept quiet, though. Part of me really wanted to jump in and offer my help right away, but I sensed that my dad was particularly hoping for Zane, my older brother, to step up. So I held back, waiting to see how Zane would respond. Zane's reaction was shocking, to say the least. He outright rejected the idea, almost mocking the thought of joining our small family business. It was clear he felt it was beneath him, which just blew my mind. Zane's indifference to our parents' struggles and the future of the business they had worked so hard to build was glaring. Despite my dad repeatedly asking for his help, Zane was adamant. He argued that leaving his current job for a venture that was so uncertain was something he just couldn't consider. The disappointment and hurt on my dad's face were palpable. It was hard to watch, knowing how much this plea for help meant to him and seeing it so casually dismissed by my brother. I was totally floored, like jaw-droppingly surprised. I mean, in my head, it was a no-brainer that Zane would be the go-to guy for my parents when it came to taking over the family biz. They've always been all about Zane, you know. But then out of the blue, it's my dad who's looking all kinds of stressed, coming up to me with these puppy dog eyes full of hope. He lays it on me, saying the business is hitting rough waters and he's freaking out about the thought of having to lock up for good. He's like, I really need you now. I've been doing all right for myself, making decent money. And since I'm flying solo, I've managed to stack up a pretty penny in savings. Deep down, I knew I had the means to throw them a lifeline. Let me tell you, I felt like a total knucklehead, even considering stepping in after feeling left out in the cold for so long. But after giving it some serious thought, something in me just couldn't stand the idea of watching the family legacy go down the drain. So I was like, all right, challenge accepted. I'm not going to let our family business hit rock bottom. I decided to not just dip my toes, but to dive headfirst into the deep end, offering up my savings to inject some life into the business and steer it back on course. You wouldn't believe how thankful my parents were. They couldn't stop thanking me. Now let's hit the fast forward button to 5 years later. I've been all in, pouring every ounce of effort into this company. I'm talking about really getting to know our customers on a first-name basis, boosting how folks see our business from the outside, and dragging our online presence into the 21st century with a website that lets us sell our stuff worldwide. I've been like a one-person army getting our paperwork and processes streamlined, aiming for that gold standard of quality management with ISO 901 vibes, and seriously upping our game and making sure what we produce is top-notch without any hiccups. And it's not just the big picture stuff. I'm right there on the ground floor with everyone else, lending a hand with packing boxes, sweeping floors, or hefting around the heavy stuff during the mad rushes or whenever I catch a break. I mean, why not pitch in and make everyone's life a bit easier, right? But get this, while I've been busting my hump, my dad's been pretty much MIA. Tech and him, they're like oil and water, just don't mix. He pretty much only pops his head in when there's a big order or something major going down. So yeah, it's been a wild ride, but seeing the business thrive because of the blood, sweat, and tears I've put into it, totally worth it. I was like the superhero of our family business. It was doing super well because I was taking care of almost everything. My mom and dad started to see how good I was at handling things, and they began to think, wow, our kid is pretty awesome. I had this feeling deep down that one day the business would be mine to run, but hey, I wasn't going to be greedy or anything. If my brother ever wanted to join in and help out, I'd be cool with sharing it with him. During all this time, my mom and dad and I got along way better than before. It wasn't like they were picking favorites anymore because they used to always cheer for my brother, but I could tell they really respected me now, and guess what? My grandparents were also super happy for me. For the first time, it felt like my parents were treating me just like they would treat a son, which made me super happy. Then 3 years ago, something unexpected happened. My brother Zane came out of the blue and told everyone he was getting married. This was a total surprise because none of us knew he was even dating someone seriously. It turns out he had met this girl Donna just a month before, and they decided to get married super fast. This set off alarm bells in my head because seriously, they barely knew each other. I tried to talk some sense into my brother, telling him it might not be the best idea to rush into marriage when you hardly know the person, but he didn't want to hear any of it. He basically told me to mind my own business and not to think I'm all that, just because I make more money than him. After that conversation, I decided to just stay out of his personal life, but after Zane got married to Donna, things started to change big time. Donna didn't really get along with our parents. She thought they were too much to handle and didn't like how they were so into my brother's life, so she started to cut them off, not answering their calls or texts. This was really hard on my mom, especially because she was super close to Zane, and not being able to talk to him made her really sad. So for a really long time, like 2 whole years, nobody had any clue where my brother Zane had gone. It was like he just disappeared off the face of the earth and nobody heard from him. Then, all of a sudden, last year he just shows up at home like nothing happened. I didn't even know he was back until something weird happened with my dad. One day, my dad was supposed to go to this super important meeting, but he never showed up. I got worried, so I called him to see what was up. That's when he dropped the news on me. Zane was back, and not just for a visit, but for good. I was totally shocked. My dad then said we should have a family dinner because he had some big news to share. During dinner, I found out why Zane had been gone. His wife Donna had cheated on him and left him for another guy. Honestly, I wasn't too surprised about that part because Donna always made more money than Zane, and knowing my brother, he's never been great at keeping a job for long. My parents seemed really happy Zane was back, especially since he was getting a divorce. Later that evening, things got even crazier. My dad called me and Zane into his office, closed the door, and looked me straight in the eyes. Then he hit me with something I did not see coming. He told me I needed to start looking for a new job because they didn't need me anymore. Starting the next day, Zane would be taking over my job. I was just standing there speechless, waiting for someone to say this was all a joke, but then Zane spoke up. He said he was ready to take over the family business and work with Dad. My dad just nodded, making it clear that he was serious. He didn't think he needed me around in the business anymore now that Zane was back. I was sitting there totally lost and confused. It just blew my mind how my dad could kick me out of our family business like it was nothing. Here I was, the one who left my own job to dive in and help him out with all the money I had saved up. I looked straight at my dad and asked him, "Why can't Zane and I both work here? It's a family thing, and I'm the one who made the business grow big." But then Zane, my brother, just laughed at what I said. He acted like I was just keeping his seat warm for him, like the business was supposed to be his all along. He told me to grow up and stop making a fuss. I didn't back down, though. I reminded my dad about all the hard work I put in to turn our losses into profits. It wasn't fair for him to just throw me out, but my dad didn't budge. He told me straight up that I was just another employee, and he had every right to fire me if he wanted to. He even said he was trying to save me from embarrassment by not making me work a notice period. He wanted me out effective immediately. Feeling a bit desperate, I asked if my mom knew about this, hoping maybe she could change my dad's mind, but he nodded, saying this was my mom's idea too. They thought this would be a way to keep Zane around for good. I felt like my heart had been ripped out. It was like my family had just used me when they needed me, and now they were tossing me aside like I was nothing. When my favorite sibling came back home, I had a chill chat with my dad. I was like, "Hey, I need the money back that I put into our family business. It's time for me to start something new for myself," but man, did that make my dad and brother mad. My brother was all, "How can you even ask Dad for money back? Don't you remember how much our parents spent on you when you were a kid?" Dad agreed with him and was like, "You chose to put your money in the business. You should be embarrassed for even asking for it back." Then my brother called me ungrateful, and I just couldn't keep it in anymore. I yelled, "You don't get it." Growing up was tough for me, always being compared to you, putting up with your mean comments, and our parents clearly picking favorites. I told them how hard I work to keep our business from going under, and now they think I'm wrong for wanting my own money back. Dad got super mad when I raised my voice at my brother and was like, "You think you deserve money? You're just ungrateful, and I'm not giving you anything." He even said he's cutting me out of the will because he thinks I'm greedy. Then he told me to leave the house. Those words felt like a heavy blow. For the first time in forever, my heart was really breaking. Really, it hurt to see my family still treating me this way. All my hopes of taking over the family business and getting what I thought was rightfully mine just crashed and burned. My dad was really mad, and when he said I couldn't have a part of our family's business or any of the money that should have been mine, it felt super unfair. It was like a stab in the back. I tried to stay chill and told him fine if that's how you want it. I'll just do my own thing. Keep your business and all the money. I'll start from zero and show everyone what I'm capable of. You'll see you were wrong about me, but after saying that, I didn't wait to hear any more bad vibes from them. I just left the house and didn't look back. They didn't bother to call or text me after that. Later on, my grandparents heard all about how my brother suddenly showed up after being gone for so long and took over everything, and that my own family had pushed me out. They were really upset with my parents. By then, though, it was too late. 6 months had gone by since I walked away from all that drama and stopped talking to my family. It was a rough start feeling all alone and having to figure things out from scratch. It was really tough knowing my family didn't want me around, but it also made me super determined to make it on my own. Finding a job was hard at first. I wasn't used to working regular jobs because I was busy running our family's business and I was actually pretty good at it. Then I had this awesome idea. I decided to go to the companies that were our biggest rivals. I told them all about how good I was at managing our family business and making it successful. I figured I could use what I knew to help them out and maybe get back at my family a bit by doing so. I found out that a few companies were actually interested in me, which was a total surprise. I mean, I knew I had some skills, but it was cool to see others notice too. I got invited to a bunch of interviews which felt a bit like going on stage each time, but in a good way. Then one of these companies decided they liked me enough to offer me a job. I was over the moon. It felt like a brand new chapter in my life was starting and I was super ready to jump in and give it my all. This job was tough with lots of challenges coming my way, but I faced them with the same spirit I had when I was doing my best to save our family business from sinking. Gradually, piece by piece, I started putting my life back together. It was like picking up the pieces of a puzzle and finally seeing the picture come together. Without the constant stress and negativity from my family, I started feeling a lot better about myself. My job was going great, and for the first time in a while, I felt stable and genuinely happy. It was as if I had been given a second chance to find out what I was truly capable of, and everything seemed to be falling into place perfectly, but then totally out of the blue, my parents decided it was time to show up again in my life, and it all happened last week. They started bombarding me with calls and texts non-stop. At first, I just ignored them, thinking they would eventually get the hint, but nope. They kept at it, determined to get through to me. So curiosity got the better of me, and I decided to see what they wanted after all this time of silence. When I finally talked to them, their voices were filled with worry, and without any warm-up, they asked if I could help out by paying their bills, because their electricity was shut off. I was stunned. Not a single "how are you" or "we've missed you," let alone an apology for everything that had happened. They went straight for the ask, expecting me to cover their bills. I managed to stay calm and threw it back at them, suggesting they ask their successful son for help instead, and made it clear I didn't want to be disturbed by them again. At that point, my mom broke down crying on the phone, and they finally opened up about how bad things had gotten. The family business, which once was our pride and joy, was now teetering on the edge of disaster, close to bankruptcy. So my dad came to me with a really big problem. He said they really needed my help. It turns out my parents had lost everything. They had this all happen because of my brother, who they thought was super smart with money. He convinced my parents to use almost all their savings and their retirement money to buy cryptocurrency and do some day trading at the start of the year. They thought they were going to make a lot of money, and their savings would triple, but then the market crashed and they lost everything because of a big scam. On top of that, my brother was doing a terrible job with our family business. He couldn't manage the employees at all, and they all didn't like him. He had no clue how to run the business, which wasn't surprising because of his bad management. Our family business started losing important deals and clients. When I heard all of this, I couldn't help but feel a mix of sadness and irony. For a long time, my parents didn't treat me well. They even kicked me out of the family business and said I wouldn't get any part of the family wealth. But now, when everything went wrong, they suddenly expected me to help them out. I reminded them of all the times they treated me badly and how they never paid me back for the money I put into the business to help it grow. I had worked hard to make the business successful, even though they only saw me as just another worker. I was really upset by their nerve to ask for my help now. I took a deep breath to calm down, and then I told them straight up about all the times they favored my brother over me and didn't appreciate my contributions. I made it clear that I hadn't forgotten how they pushed me out and that they shouldn't expect me to come running back to help them. My parents tried to make me feel guilty, saying I owed them for taking care of me when I was young and that I should be a better son, but I stood my ground, reminding them of everything I had done for them and the business despite how they treated me. So I had a really serious talk with them. I was like, listen, if you guys try to reach out to me one more time asking for help or anything, I'm going to take some serious steps. I'm talking about making you guys pay back every single penny I ever put into your business. And yeah, if it comes down to it, I might even push you to sell your house to settle things. You can imagine this didn't sit well with them at all. My mom and dad were super upset, and we ended up having a huge fight. But no matter how much they yelled or tried to make me feel guilty, I didn't change my mind. I was like, nope, I'm not going to help you out after everything that's happened. Feeling strong and standing up for myself was a game changer. It was hard to believe, really, after all these years of not-so-great treatment. My parents actually thought I'd just erase all that from my memory and rush to their side when they snapped their fingers. But when I ended that call, I felt sure I'd made the right choice for me. However, that was just the beginning. My phone started going off with texts and calls, not just from them, but from my brother and some other relatives too. They were all telling me I was being too tough on my folks and that I should just let bygones be bygones and help out. But not everyone was against me. My grandparents, they were on my side. They've always known the score. Back when I was a kid, I spent a lot of time with them because my parents were too busy doing their own thing, leaving me behind. My grandparents saw everything how my parents were with me, how they never really did their part. So yeah, it's been a bit of a roller coaster now. Everyone's looking at me like I'm the bad guy for not wanting to dive in and save the day after how they've treated me. It's a tough spot, but am I really the villain here for choosing to protect my peace after all these years? Update 1. Hey everyone, first off, I just want to take a moment to say a massive thank you to all of you. Seriously, your support and kindness during this rough patch have been incredible. Every single message, comment, and bit of encouragement you've sent my way has been a lifeline for me. It's hard to put into words just how much it means, but please know from the bottom of my heart, I am so grateful. Let me give you the lowdown on what's been happening because it's been a bit of a roller coaster. So my family's been going through a tough time because of some serious issues with our family business. The twist, my brother was actually at the center of the problems that led to the business struggling, but when my parents needed help, they didn't spill the beans about what was really going on. Instead, they painted a picture of my brother trying to be the hero, stepping in to help out in these tough times. Now here's where it gets even more complicated. I decided I couldn't foot the bills they were asking me to pay, so what did my parents do? They twisted the story to make me out to be the villain of the piece, all to save face for my brother. They chose to protect him and his reputation, even if it meant throwing me under the bus in front of our whole family. It felt like a betrayal, knowing they'd fabricate a story that left me taking the heat just to avoid any embarrassment for him. For a long time, I kept quiet. I thought maybe it was just how things had to be, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized that this wasn't right. I shouldn't have to carry the blame for something I didn't do. After a lot of reflection and some deep conversations with my grandparents, who have been my rock through everything, I've decided it's time for a change. It's time to set the record straight. This weekend, I'm planning to have a heart-to-heart with my extended family. I'm going to share my side of the story, the real story. I'm going to talk about the years of being treated unfairly, how I was pushed out of the family business, and the financial support I gave to my parents' struggling business that went unrecognized. It's not going to be easy, but it's something I need to do. For too long, I've let others dictate my narrative, but now I'm taking it back. I'm going to clear my name and share my truth. I promise to keep you all updated on how things go. Your support has given me the strength to take this step, and I can't thank you enough for being by my side through it all. Here's to hoping for a brighter, more honest future. Thanks again, everyone. Your support means everything to me. Update 2. Hey, so you know how I've been wanting to clear the air with my family about some stuff? Well, I finally took a big step towards that this morning. Let me break it down for you. I decided to tackle the misunderstandings head-on by sending out a massive email to all my relatives. These were the folks who had been reaching out wondering why I seemed to be MIA when my parents were going through a really tough time. In that email, I really opened up about everything. I went all in explaining the rough patches I had to deal with while living under my parents' roof. It wasn't easy, but I talked about how they didn't treat me well, how it was super obvious they had a favorite kid, and how they ended up pushing me out of the family business, and not just that, they also cut me off from any inheritance, which was a hard pill to swallow. I also spilled the beans about how much of my own money I had poured into the family business over the years, but when their golden child decided to return, it was like I suddenly didn't matter. My parents didn't think twice before showing me the door, and they didn't pay back a single penny of the money I had invested. Laying all this out was crucial for me. I needed to make sure that everyone understood exactly why I made the decisions I did. I felt it was only fair that they heard my side of the story straight from me. And you know what? After hitting that send button, I felt a huge relief. It was as if I had been carrying this giant backpack full of rocks, and I finally got to set it down. I've got to be honest, I'm not entirely sure how my relatives will react. Some of them might side with me while others might not, but at the end of the day, that's not what's most important to me. What matters is that I got to share my truth. I needed to let them know the real reasons behind my actions without any sugarcoating. It was about being honest and transparent, and now that I've done it, I feel so much lighter. Whether they believe me or not, I've said what I needed to say, and that in itself is a big relief. Update 3. Hey everyone, wow, it's already been 3 whole months since I last gave you an update on my life. Time flies, right? I've got some news to share, and honestly, it's pretty good stuff this time. So remember that massive email I sent to all our relatives a while back? I wasn't sure what to expect, but something amazing happened. Quite a few of them actually got in touch with me to say they were sorry. They were completely taken aback by everything I've had to deal with because of my parents. It turns out they had absolutely no idea about the extent of it all. It felt really good to hear that they understood and were supportive, especially considering how well my parents managed to hide the truth from everyone else. Not stopping there, some of these relatives felt so strongly about what had happened that they decided to confront my parents directly. I'm not privy to the specifics of those conversations, but it's clear my parents weren't too thrilled. My uncle on my parents' side even tried to reach out to me several times, bombarding me with messages and accusing me of being childish and immature for airing our dirty laundry in public. That was the last straw for me. I sent them one final message to make my stance crystal clear. I was completely and utterly done with them. I went as far as to say that I wouldn't lose sleep over them being left without a roof over their heads. I also warned them that if they didn't respect my wish for no contact, I wouldn't hesitate to consider legal options. After I blocked them, they haven't had the courage or perhaps the audacity to reach out again, and that silence has been blissful. On a much lighter note, there's been some positive momentum in other areas of my life too. My job is going great, and I'm generally feeling good about how things are unfolding. I've also taken a significant step towards healing by starting therapy. It's been really helpful in dealing with the lingering shadows of my past experiences. This whole journey of healing and moving forward has been made so much easier thanks to the incredible support system I've found, not just in therapy, but in various aspects of my life. I make it a point to visit my grandparents as often as my work schedule allows. They've been my rock through all of this, the true definition of family in my eyes. I want to extend a massive thank you to all of you for being there for me, your words of encouragement, your support. It's all been instrumental in helping me navigate this path towards a better, happier life. Here's to continuing this journey to healing, to finding joy in the little things, and to all of us together moving towards brighter days.